It's time for Trader Chat with Johnny Ward and Flynn Goward. The Guineas have come and gone. Some very, very interesting betting markets, some very, very interesting results, some very, very interesting ramifications for the classics down the line. Good morning, Flynn.
Good morning. How are you?
What happened in the Guineas that Battleground was sent off favourite? I mean, my aversion towards anything by Warfront is well known, but how does Battleground, after not being originally thought to be running the race, not ridden by Ryan Moore, being by Warfront, goes off favourite in the Guineas? Did you lay him?
We did lay him. If the viewers were watching ITV at the weekend, they would have seen that we laid 50,000 each way on Battleground. So that's 50,000 each way Battleground at 8-1. So you would have heard Matt Chapman before the race screaming that there was this massive gamble. We'd obviously laid a terrible price retrospectively, obviously after the event, knowing that it obviously went off 9-2. But we laid the big price there each way 8-1. So we were very happy to see Battleground completely out of the boxes, ran no sort of race whatsoever. I thought it looked a really poor Guineas. Only time will tell how these horses obviously go on to perform after the race. But on the face of it did look a poor Guineas. I'm not sure what your thoughts are.
The time was respectable. I think it was half a second, give or take, faster than normal or average. But like that doesn't really matter. For me, they were a bit of a much for muchness. Poetic Flair, I'm not trying to knock him, but he was a workmanlike winner of the Kin of Ullen. Obviously, his dad Dawn Approach would not be a sire that people have warmed to at all. In fact, they can't really give him away. And now he's obviously won a Guineas and he's sired the winner of the Guineas. But you had the Aidan O'Brien runners basically bombing out completely. I tend to agree, but I mean the gamble on Battleground, I guess he probably was working well at home, and would it be a thing that Warfront horses do? They just flatter to deceive. He ran a shocker, but in fairness to Poetic Flair, he pulled it out. Did you lay him at all?
We didn't. It was a great result in the book, Poetic Flair, so we're very happy to see him hang on. There was comment made after the race in Paul Keeley tweets actually, and there was kind of chat in the office that there was obviously big talk about Santa Barbara. And what she's been working all over at home, and then they obviously come out in the 2000 Guineas, don't run any type of races whatsoever. So even though she was working all over them, she might not have been working all over much. Just in terms of the other results for us in the 2000 Guineas, so Points Play was a great result. Getting Battleground out of the box is fantastic for us. The punter beat the price there, obviously having the 50 grand each way at 8, going up 92, so beat the price, but didn't get the performance that he was expecting anyway. Muta Sarbek and Wembley were the other two losers in the book. Those were the other two that were really popular, especially Muta Sarbek. That really shortened up the night before and the morning of was around the 6-1 mark, and then the next morning when I came into the office, it was around the 9-2 mark. So that one really shortened up. We'd also laid some Master Basilica anti-post. He obviously heads over to France, so that did us a favour. So we were already ahead going into the race, and then we won a little bit more when the race actually happened, which was fantastic for us. In terms of ramifications for the Derby, to be honest, the ones that didn't run were the ones that were short spin, mainly because of the kind of uninspiring result of the actual 2000 Guineas. High Definition went into 3-1 from 7-2. Really interesting to see that he's probably going to go for the Lingfield trial this weekend. Obviously, Anthony Van Dyke won that before going onto the Derby, but it's not typically known as a trial, is it, where you send your kind of best horse to? So it's interesting that he goes there. Bourgeois Ballet shortened into 15-2 from 10-1. We've seen some really warm money for Salamarak into 10-1 from 16. We laid some shrewd customers at 16-1, so that may turn out to be the main fancy, Salamarak, for the Derby. And yeah, so we see some real warm money for him in terms of Derby ramifications for the 2000 Guineas, pretty minimal.
Yeah, keep loyalty with I think Bolshoi Valley, but just to mention Thunder Moon, obviously, who ran a stinker in the Guineas, and then Zoffany sires the winner of the 1000 Guineas, and this kind of worked out almost as you would expect. The best horse in the race was probably the favourite, but she actually ends up out of the placing. So this is the frustration of an anti-post. You could have, like, say if you had your 50 grand each way at 10s on Santa Barbara, and she's not even placed. She gets done for third in the line after travelling really well in the race, and obviously her stablemate wins it.
Yeah. The 1000 Guineas was a better watch. I thought it was probably a better race than the actual 2000. Its male counterpart. Mother Earth was actually the worst result in the race for us, sadly, but it wasn't huge levels. We didn't lay those kind of 10s or 50,000, so it wasn't a huge level. So we actually came up on both Guineas when you combine the two results. Santa Barbara was popular along with Sacred as well. We just didn't get the trip. I don't think Sacred did. I think Santa Barbara was probably a little bit too keen. She'll come on for it. The gamble of the race was alcohol free, but it wasn't actually gambled with us. She was a decent result in the race, but in terms of the industry as a whole, alcohol free was the one that they obviously wanted to be on. She was a good winner in the book, as I just said. She was 10-1 overnight, bet all the way to 5-2 joint favourite, going off joint favourite with Santa Barbara, whose price was kind of fluctuating, was actually around the 5-4, 11-8 mark the night before, and then she went completely the other way after the result of the 2,000 guineas. Obviously, punters are latching on to the fact that the crop just might not be that good, and that's why her price probably went the other way. In terms of the Oaks, Santa Barbara was eased, but only out to 72 from 3-1. You'd think that there'd be a bigger reaction there, but there really wasn't. Obviously, first run of the season for her. Punters are clearly expecting her to be coming on for that run and going to the Oaks with a real live chance, because she is only 72, and that is actually top price, I believe, 72 with us here at Star. We actually saw some money for her yesterday, which is quite interesting. So again, punters latching on to.
Well, if she stays the Oaks trip, I mean, to be fair to her, to produce performance like that in the Rolly Mile, to produce performance like that in her second start, where to me she looked like the best horse in the race in many respects. She's obviously very, very talented, and being by Camelot, she should get an Oaks trip. And there doesn't look to be an awful lot of kind of candidates. I would definitely fancy her to be reversed in form, the horse in front of her. So I could see the angle there. I could see her going off mad short in the Oaks.
Oh, really? Okay, but yeah, because it's almost a two-horse market at the moment, isn't it? It's her, I think it's Fiona at the top of the betting.
Yeah.
In the Oaks, and then you're kind of 10-1 bar, then 10-1 bar for her. Saffron Beach, just want to touch on. I thought that she'll run some really nice races this year. Saffron Beach, 14-1. She plugged on really well in the Guineas, so I'd expect her to be in some good races. But those are the two big races from Newmarket. Just want to touch on some of the other races. We did see some action elsewhere on the Newmarket cards. So firstly, on Saturday, Creative Force was a terrible result in the opening handicap. We laid in pretty big at 4-5, so we were behind the 8 ball just as we got going on the big day. Lazuli was a poor result in the Palace House, 3-1 favourite there. The Old Boy Judicial would have been even worse, but Lazuli was a much better result, even though a loser in the book. Also, in the Jockey Club Stakes, Sir Ron Creasy was really well backed, especially right up to the off. Went off 15-8. From 2-1. Pile Driver was the one they wanted to be with in the morning. He was shortening up from 5-2, 9-4, actually touched 2-1 at one point, Pile Driver. And then as we got to the off and the show, they kind of swapped places, and Ron Creasy was the one that the punters wanted to be on. So that was a really poor result for us in the Jockey Club Stakes. And then the most impressive winner of the day was Mahafet. I'm sure you've seen this, Johnny, in the listed Newmarket Stakes. Derby quotes galore afterwards. It was obviously over 1 mile, 2 furlongs.
Got word for the horse, completely forgot about it, had a radio slot from 3 to 5, and then you're kind of checking your messages like oi oi and all this, like, oh no. And then he's like, did you see the race? Like, oh no, what have I done here?
Is there a worse feeling when you get a word for a horse and you go to do something else and you just hear your phone pinging off? It's like, oh, I've clearly missed it.
There is absolutely no goodwill to the other person whatsoever. Well done on your win. I'm really delighted for you. No, you're not. You didn't get on.
Yeah, exactly. So Derby quotes galore after that. We're 8-1 joint second favourite now. Mahafet for the Derby. I thought he looked a real top of the ground horse, obviously by Frankel. Real top of the ground. He really just skims along the top of the surface. So just bear that in mind if you are having a bet. I think that anything kind of softer than good, I think you might be in trouble and you might want to lay it. So there is just one to take out Saturday, probably the most talked about horse, even though we had the Guineas on Saturday. In terms of Sunday, we had some slightly better results. Really good result for us in the Dahlia Stakes with Lady Beaufort winning there. Lavender's Blue and Queen Power were by far the most popular with punters. They were the two losers in the book. And one more race to talk about on Sunday would be the one that's a field champion one. He was the worst winner in the book. So we did actually win on the race, but he was the worst one. But you can't complain with that because Global Storm would have been a terrible result. So we dodged a bullet there. In terms of the weekend for us, it was an okay weekend. It felt like it didn't really catch light, Guineas weekend. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know whether it's fans not being there and not being used to that. It didn't really catch light for me, but there were definitely a couple of performances in there to take forward anyway, especially Mahafet. And then I think Santa Barbara for the Oaks, you also think she's going to go off silly short. So,
well, I see your notes as well that you did your money on Broome, which kind of surprised me given his general odds and that. But obviously, well, you did.
Broome is honestly, when you've laid Broome, it's probably the most frustrating lay of all time because we laid in the last day or last time out, as we would obviously say over here. It looks beat, goes 8 in running. He goes on to win. That was for a huge sum as well. And then yesterday, similar sort of price, 4-9. Laid a very big sum. You think that it wasn't quite like the time before where he went 8 in running. I think he went 2-4, so about 5-4 market in running. We laid Broome big yesterday, and he just pulled it out of the bag and won fairly closely at the end. I think now the kind of better older horses will start coming out. He'll probably start getting beat or a bit more challenged now. He won't be going off 4-9 much. for the rest of the season. They've obviously got him out to win a couple of group races early on. But it's not been good for us. He seems to be our bogey horse, Broome, which can't seem to get Broome beat. And I'm sure that when he does beat, we went a lane in.
Let's talk the World Championships. Mark Selby obviously wins it again, and I actually didn't watch it now, but I was on a few WhatsApp groups, and the lads were extolling the quality of the final. But how was it for the firm?
He obviously won the snooker yesterday. Second worst result in the anti-post book, behind Mark Williams. Sean Murphy, who Mark Selby was obviously playing yesterday, was also a small loser. So either way, it wouldn't have been a great result. So just in terms of the way how we did on the snooker front, not the best, unfortunately. So we'll have to go again with that one.
Boxing?
Boxing, good card. The other night, on Saturday night, you obviously had Chisora versus Joseph Parker. To be honest, it was terrible all round. I'm going to be honest. The favourite treble proved really popular. That was Chris Eubank Jr. was fighting, although his opponent a great fight, to be fair. But Eubank obviously get the job done there. Katie Taylor beat Natasha Jonas. She was short to do that, so punters were getting involved there. I think she was around the 2 to 9 mark. Katie Taylor. And then Joseph Parker was a shade of odds on to beat Derek Chisora, and he got the job done. Pretty controversial. I think you probably could have had it either way. Derek Chisora pushed the pace, and Parker just was the classic type of boxer. But even though it was a marginal win, it was still a win for the punters, and it was a loser for us. So those three going in just felt trouble for us, really, on the boxing front.
In terms of football as well, I was all set to back Man United at the price against Liverpool, because I don't know, I'm not convinced by Liverpool at all at the moment. The team they picked, obviously it was called off. Then I then had a bet on Spurs -1, almost out of annoyance that I hadn't had my Sunday evening beers bet. And Gareth Bale, I mean, talk about a Mickey Mouse game, but Gareth Bale was the toast of JW on Sunday evening. There were some other football games, obviously, since I was last talking to you. Fascinating stuff in the Champions League. How was the last 7 days, Toby?
Yeah, so in terms of the in terms of Spurs game, we laid Spurs on the handicap, on the minus handicap, so the same bet you were looking at, which was obviously a really bad result for us. And then just moving back to the Champions League, so Man City winning against PSG was a really poor result. We had quite a large bet of 20 to 21 pre-match on Man City, so them coming back against PSG and putting themselves in the driver's seat of the tie was really not a good result for us earlier in the week. Then in the other Champions League games, we had Real Madrid versus Chelsea. That was a decent result for us with the draw. So there's all to pay for after the 1-1 draw in that fixture. And just a quick note that we've obviously got the 2 good offer on football at the moment. So if your team does go 2-0 up or 2 goals up, then we will pay you out as a winner up to a stake of £200. So just offer to get stuck into there. What we are seeing with this offer is we're seeing that the draws are fantastic results for us, because people are wanting to bet either side to win. So any kind of draw for us at the moment is a fantastic result, like we saw in the Real Madrid versus Chelsea game.
Just this week as well, big week on the racing front. Chester Ascot, Lingfield, and very, very busy stuff, both sides of the Irish Sea. Yeah,
exactly. It's all about Derby clues and Oaks clues now, isn't it? We've got the big Derby trial at Lingfield on Saturday, and we might get high definition turning up there. We will obviously find out during this week whether he does go, but we could see him at Lingfield. We've also got the Chester May meeting, which is a fantastic watch, which starts tomorrow, I believe. So lots to get stuck into this week. Victoria Cup Day at Ascot on Saturday. Unfortunately, we won't be there. But hopefully we'll be on course pretty soon. I think the Oaks and the Derbies maybe when our next be on track. And we've also got the Greyhound Dog Derby coming up. And the Greyhound Derby is priced up on site. That'll be getting underway in a few weeks' time. So definitely have a look at the Greyhound offering that we have there. And then we've also got the Champions League and we've got the Europa League. So actually loads going on, Johnny.
Thanks a million, Flynn. Have a good rest of the week, and hopefully we have a similar banter this time next week, because just loads to talk about. I think we'll have a bit more clarity in terms of the Derby and the Oaks fixture and so forth.
Fingers crossed.
Top man.